An article at Futurism published on March 9, 2024 is headlined, "Scientist Terrified by How the Climate is Falling Apart." The subhead is a quote from said scientist, quote, "If the fracturing of the once stable climate doesn't terrify you, then you don't fully understand it." End quote. Here's the lead. Quote, "We're staring down the barrel of an impending climate crisis, and according to University College London geophysical and climate hazards professor Bill Maguire, we should be absolutely terrified of what's still to come." End quote. The article then refers to an opinion piece written by Maguire and published by CNN on March 7, 2024. The article at CNN by Maguire is titled, "Opinion. I'm a climate scientist. If you knew what I know, you'd be terrified too." The opinion piece opens with this paragraph. Quote, "Are you frightened by climate change? Do you worry about what sort of world we are bequeathing to our children and grandchildren? In the words of science writer and author of The Uninhabitable Earth, David Wallace Wells, no matter how well informed you are surely not alarmed enough." End quote. Never mind that Wallace Wells plagiarized and then labeled me in his best-selling book. Never mind that he classically goes halfway with his analysis, claiming that we have decades left before we lose habitat for Homo sapiens on Earth. Never mind that he is joined by virtually all media personalities, government officials, and paid climate scientists in reaching his dim-witted conclusions. Skipping ahead a few paragraphs in the CNN opinion piece, we read that, quote, "While those of us working in the climate science field know the true picture and understand the implications for our world, most others do not. And this is a problem, a big one. After all, we can't act effectively to tackle a crisis if we don't know its full depth and extent." End quote. I'm willing to give Maguire the benefit of the doubt when he writes, quote, "Those of us working in the climate science field know the true picture and understand the implications for our world." End quote. In so doing, I point out that there are a lot of liars working in the climate science field. Continuing in the CNN article, Maguire writes, quote, "What's happening to our world scares the hell out of me, but if I shout the brutal, unvarnished truth from the rooftops, will this really galvanize you and others into fighting for the planet and your children's futures? Or will it leave you frozen like a rabbit in the headlights, convinced that all is lost? It's an absolutely critical question. With politicians and corporations unable or unwilling to take action rapidly enough to stymie emissions as the science demands, all we as climate scientists are left with is to seek to rouse the public to try and force through, via the ballot box and consumer choices, the enormous changes required to curb global heating. But would telling it like it is do the trick, or would the burden of truth be too much to bear?" End quote. Good luck with getting people to take action. My own attempts to, quote, "take action rapidly enough to stymie emissions as the science demands," end quote, were met with a coordinated defamation campaign. The campaign destroyed my ability to deliver the message about abrupt, irreversible climate change. It then destroyed my personal life by targeting my colleagues, friends, and family members. The CNN article claims that, quote, "This isn't a matter of scaring or not scaring people, but of informing them. As a climate scientist, it is my duty to tell you about what is happening to our world, whether it engenders fear or not." End quote. I am not a climate scientist, nor have I ever claimed to be a climate scientist. Nonetheless, I agree that it is my duty as a public servant, quote, "to tell you about what is happening to our world, whether it engenders fear or not." End quote. I would go a step further in saying yet again that scientists governed by fear are operating outside the scientific arena. The CNN opinion article then claims that failing to inform people, quote, "will mean that the public is left ignorant of the true extent of the climate emergency, which in turn can only hinder engagement and action. This is already becoming a problem with many commentators on the right of the political spectrum, along with some climate scientists, denigrating as doomers anyone flagging the worst outcomes of global heating." End quote. Oh my, you mean to tell me that people are being called doomers and therefore are being dismissed for their comments? The last time this happened to me was March 24th, 2023 in the Washington Post. Of course, it happened many times before then, thereby dismissing me as a doomer, purposely intent upon scaring people. I never intended to scare people. That's a cheap trick with a long history of failure. Instead, I have intended throughout my career to inform people, After all, informed people can make relevant decisions about their actions. I doubt terrified people can do the same. Maguire concludes his opinion piece at CNN with these 4 sentences. Quote, "The bottom line is that many things in life are scary or worrying, from going to the dentist to noticing a potential sign of cancer, but ignoring them almost invariably results in something far worse happening down the line. Climate change is no different. Everyone has the right to know the facts, scary or not, so as to provide the opportunity to act based upon the reality of what we are doing to our planet, and not on some sanitized version. Rather than leading to inaction, I believe this could be transformative." End quote. I'd love to agree. Instead, I know about the aerosol masking effect. I know about nuclear facilities melting down and the resulting ionizing radiation stripping away stratospheric ozone, thus removing habitat for life on Earth. I'm no fan of inaction. On the other hand, I'm no fan of claims that we can fix what's already broken. After all, as Barry Corbin cogently said while playing Uncle Alice in the 2007 film No Country for Old Men, quote, "You can't stop what's coming. It ain't all waiting on you. That's vanity."